great crowd welcomes us all to round 12 of the Rolex Sports Car Series, the Grand American 250 from the Glen, Watkins Glen International Raceway. As the Daytona prototypes get lined up, it's an all Ganassi front row as they come around for the green. Remember, GT cars start some 20 seconds back, a split start for DP and GT. Scott Pruitt, or Luis Diaz, brings them onto the front row, I should say, and we're looking for green. The green flag waves.
And they're already 4 wide, as we knew where they would. Look, 8 up the inside for Sells, trying to take over second place. I think he will get that position. Nope, checks up.
And Diaz, a little bit of a blocking back there in the 02 car. That's good for him. Court Wagner there in the 02 kind of holds everybody else at bay. Don't forget, Diaz and Pruitt really lost ground with that incident they had at Phoenix. They need to run hard. They need to win this race. Having a blocking back is good.
That was a smart start for these guys. Let's see if the GT guys get it right. They're coming to their green flag.
And they were not lined up well at all, but the green flag does wave, and the BMW, the number 21, gets a great jump as he leads the Pontiac GTO down into turn 1. It was BMW and then the 2 GTORs as they stream up into the S's.
I wonder if that was too big of a start, though. I mean, he had a big clear advantage well before the start-finish line.
On board the 16 car as we run up through the S's, listen to this throttle.
Customer Marks up in the draft here. Get a good draft on this long straightaway. Watkins Glen, you see him working with his teammate, getting ready to go up here into the inner loop.
Right behind Ian James in the sister car, the other BMW right in front of him. These guys working through the inner loop. Meanwhile, Luis Diaz is working down into what we call the heel of the boot on the long course here. That section, turns 6, 7, and 8, make up almost a little boot when you look at it on a map. Now they're going back onto the short course where we see the Nextel Cup cars run.
And the reason I say I think that was a very smart start going down into turn 1. Remember, these guys cannot afford to bump one another and spin each other out. That's been said, and we just saw the penalties from the last race. Believe me, it'll happen again.
Diaz through turn 11 to complete the first lap. It's Diaz, Wagner, Bert Frizzell, Mateo Bobby, and then David Donahue as they cross the line for the first lap here at Watkins Glen in the Grand American 250. Diaz down into turn 1, and once again, great to have a blocking back there. If you're running for the championship, Dorsey, you got a teammate behind you. How good does that make you feel?
Well, if you got a teammate that will work with you, it feels really good. You know, as long as you got to remember the 02 is yet to win a race. Those guys got to be hungry. And a big problem. Crash here. 65. Good save, but he bounces it off the wall.
That's Mark Bunting in the 65 car. He shares that with Andy Lally, and they had been on a charge back up into that GT championship. We'll have to wait and see how much damage was done to that GTOR.
Pretty good cloud. He got in the tire wall there, and he hit it pretty squarely, so he might have got lucky, believe it or not.
They had closed to within 19 points of Craig Stanton. They sit tied for 4th in the championship, so that's a setback to them. If they do have too much damage on that Pontiac, we'll have to wait and see the end of this lap. Is there damage to the suspension, or potentially could they have cut down a tire? Bunting seems to have things gathered back up, and he's dropped significantly down in the order.
Well, it'll take him a lap or so now just to feel the car out, make sure he hasn't knocked the toe in out, or he's got to cut down slow leaking tire. It's something you have to do as a driver. You've got to drive at 80% for a lap and make sure you got a car under you.
It's going to take him a lap to get his breath back, I think.
That's a tricky little corner down there off camber. We'll take a look at it. Comes up over this crest of this hill, gets pinched down there a little bit, and right there you come up and it's off camber. Ian James didn't leave him a lot of room, but they didn't hit, and he just got too wide. No grip out there.
Well, it was interesting that James was up alongside him already. They had obviously gotten a better run out of the heel of the boot to make that move around what would have been the outside of Mark Bunting. So see some marks on the side of that car, but he seems to still be running at speed. You saw Chris Sakaris in the number 23 Pontiac GTO right behind him was beginning to put pressure on Bunting. But back up front, Diaz having it all his way right now as it's Diaz, Wagner, Bobby, Frizzell, and Donahue at the line. That's your top 5. Wayne Taylor sits 6th, then Elliott Forbes Robinson 7th, Hurley Haywood a good run in 8th right now. Michael Valiante filling in for Michael McDowell. The Finley entry runs 9th, and then Doug Goad in 10th.
What Luis Diaz has got to do, he's got to run out front like that and try to win this race. They're already a full race down because of the thing that happened last weekend, so they've got to win.
Good look at the 77 car. For more on that, let's check in with Chris.
Brian, these guys had such a good run last time we were here with the Nextel Cup boys, getting that pole. However, problems in that race. They got caught out by a caution, which set them well back. But right now, they're looking real strong, running the top three. Talking to Kevin Doran, he thinks that car works a little bit better on the short course. But so far, these guys contending, at least up front today.
There's so many different packages out there. You're looking right now at 2 Dorans. Oh, and the 16 car is off. That's Justin Marks, and that has huge implications on the GT Championship. Joey Hand, who shares that car with Justin Marks, sits second in the GT Championship right now, only 17 points behind Stanton. And that's turn 11 coming onto the front straightaway. The full course caution is going to fly. And with that full course caution could go Joey Hand's GT Championship.
That's unbelievable. There he is right there, making contact with the barrier, but something's happened obviously in front of that.
It didn't seem to be a big impact, but
on board here. He's listening.
Contact with his team car.
Sure did.
It was the right front of Justin Marks to the left rear of Ian James. You see him from a different angle here.
Just gets cut off on the braking.
Oh, and it
took the
done.
right front corner off.
It's done.
Yeah, it took the tire out on the right front when he hit. That's why he couldn't get it stopped or turned.
And Tom Milner, who owns this PTG team, will not be happy with that at all. Not only does it have implications for the Drivers' Championship, but probably what is more important to Milner is the Manufacturers' Championship for BMW. Justin Marks sits stuck in the tire wall at Watkins Glen, under caution for the first time here. We'll be back for more Rolex Series action. Rolex Series action from Watkins Glen. 01 car comes to pit road, as does the 02, the 10, the 66. It is busy down there. This is while we were in break. All these cars came to pit road underneath the full course caution for May Van Wyck. Stalled Porsche was out on the racetrack. See Wayne Taylor out of the 10 car. See if we can get some updates from our guys down on pit road. Calvin first.
Well, the leader coming in was Luis Diaz. He stayed in the car. There was fuel and tires put on that car. The 02 jumped him here. Court Wagner stayed in. They put fuel in the car, only no tire change. Wayne Taylor came in, turned it over to Max Angelelli. So that was our first driver change that we saw. Tires and fuel for Max. And the 66 car came in. Bergmeister staying behind the wheel. Fuel and tires there also. Chris?
Now lots of action down on my end of pit lane too. In the Crawford camp, the 4 car came in first. EFR getting out, handing it over to Butch Lightsinger. A little bit of a slow stop for these boys. The car came off the jacks before the left side wheels were on, so they had to get it back up. So it was a little bit of a slow stop. Also the 2 car in. Milcaduno out, Andy Wallace in. Pit speed violation on that car. So Andy's going to have to come back to pit lane for a drive-through penalty. And the 99 Gainsco car coming in. Alex Gurney behind the wheel in that car. They had a great run here when we were here with Nextel Cup. I think Alex Gurney finished second in that race, so going to be awesome to watch that car come through the field too.
Wow, we're going to have a good start here.
A lot of pressure on Matteo Bobby in that number 77 Crown Royal. Doran Ford as he brings him back to the green. We're racing again at Watkins Glen. The Frizzell brothers right behind him right now. Bert Frizzell behind the wheel. Look for the guys that were in the back to make a charge. Here comes the 6 and the 15 as well. Gwinnett with a good move there and some problems.
5 is spun. I think he probably got helped the way it looked. He was in heavy traffic. That's going counter race in turn 1. A little bit on the scary side there. Not that he has much choice about it.
And the entire field will have to stream through before Pat Flanagan can get back underway. Now this is Flanagan's first ride in a Daytona prototype. He and Patrick Long sharing the car this weekend. Typically they drive a GT Porsche, but they want to try out a Daytona prototype. Pat Flanagan involved with the New Century Mortgage Company, and they said, you know, we're letting Court Wagner and Stefan Johansson carry the colors on the other DP. We're going to go have some fun today and learn what it is like to drive a DP car. And they said, quite honestly, he really enjoyed it. He felt it was almost easier to drive than the GT Porsche.
And it is. And you know, when you and I were talking to him about that, when you get into a better car, more of a race car, it becomes a little bit more easy. Let's take a look and see. No, that's none. That's an unforced error. Looks like he might have locked up some rear wheels. Let's take a look from on board our Pontiac GTO and see if we can get a better look at this.
Inside.
You hear the spotter though, that's a great
Double to the
thing.
DP on the inside of 1.
I was a little late for that call.
Sounded
He's already
cool
behind.
and calm, didn't he? Careful, there's a GT or the spun car on the inside of one. Back up front, the battle, Matteo Bobby, then Bert Frizzell, then David Donahue. A good three-car battle up front. And interesting, two-door and chassis here, but two very different power plants. Let's check in on the 8 with Chris Neville.
Ryan, the Flying Hawaiians right now, so happy with that 8 machine. The RX.com car has really performed well at Watkins Glen all year long. These guys looking for a good finish, but talking with Bert Frizzell before the race, he said, you know, we've got to get some good finishes here, but you know, what I want to do right now, I'm really happy to be starting this thing. I want to go out there and lead for a long time in my stint. So Bert Frizzell got to be happy where he is in second place right now and hoping he can put some pressure on that Crown Royal machine.
Like I say, Kevin Durant, when he comes here, looking back statistically over the years, not just this series, but everything he's ever run here finds its way in the winner's circle. He's just got a magic setup for here.
Looking back through the pack a little bit, you saw the 19 car. Valiente still behind the wheel, looking to make a move as they came into the bus stop. Nothing doing there. The car streamed through nicely, and you see that's Max Angelelli now trying to get the best of Butch Leitzinger. These guys trying to work their way up through the pack. They came in, remember, they came in for that pit stop. Angelelli said, I don't like being the good guy, remember? Looking at putting the pressure on Leitzinger.
Now these guys in the Daytona prototypes are yet to have to contend with any real traffic because of these cautions we've had. It's the spacing of the field. The GT cars are just not quite up to where they're going to be lapped yet, which could change us all.
Bergmeister still in the 66, but then Butch Leitzinger and Max the Axe Angelelli in the 10. And Angelelli has just been spectacular so far the last 3 or 4 races. Look at him look up the inside of Leitzinger, and he takes the position. Butch Leitzinger says, well, very wisely, I think I'm going to let you go right now. Too early to have that kind of a battle. Angelelli gets through. Let's see if on the lap before, take a look at this.
Takes a look up the inside here of Rob Dyson.
Inside, outside, inside, no.
That's not a good place to touch anybody, I can tell you that.
He gets bottled up behind the 66 car because the 66 got held up there, and that's when Leitzinger got by. So those two doing battle, but Angelelli has said, I don't like being the clean driver. You know, I'm used to a little rubbing and a little hard racing, but I've had to be so well behaved, and well behaved he has been. He's brought this car back the last 3 or 4 races, Dorsey, without a mark on it.
And they've really got the upper hand. They've got over a 1-race lead, so they've got to play it smart. I know Max's emotion. I know how badly he wants to win every race. But on the other hand, you know, the championship is the most important goal.
Through cleanly as they come into the inner loop. Now Butch Leitzinger tries to get past Rob Dyson, and does. Right, Dyson, a very experienced racer, says, no, go on through, guys. You're much faster. I'm going to let you go. Thought nothing of
Plus, it's his boss also.
Yeah. That's a very good point. As you look at your leaderboard there, the top 5, the battle continues here at Watkins Glen. As we go back to green at Watkins Glen.
Oh, back there, one of the TRG cars almost got in trouble.
These guys trying to work their way through the GT traffic as they head down to turn 1. You see the 04 car, the Porsche on the outside. Matthew Alhadeff behind the wheel, trying to stay out of this mess of DP cars behind him. And now into the fastest cornering section on the racetrack, the S's.
You don't want to get yourself going side by side, even with a DP and against a GT. It's not a good thing to do.
One of the things these drivers were told in the drivers' meeting was don't run down the middle of the racetrack. If you're a slower car, look at Gurney trying to make the move on the 59 car. Alhadeff doing a good job of staying to the right there. Has to move back to get on line. On board the 58, Darren Law as they go through the S's. Alhadeff, a good job staying out of the way there. These DPs, like a swarm of hornets, Dorsey.
Yeah, that's not every one of them.
Look at the move there around the outside.
Yeah, you know why? Because the 04, the GT held up. Uh-oh, this is
side by side through the laces of the boot. Alhadeff saying, I don't want to have anything more to do with this. He's trying to stay out of the way, Dorsey, but these guys on a charge.
Yeah, he by staying out of the way, he's got everybody stacked up. And you know, on a restart, it's a really good time to be aggressive and make up positions, because it'll all settle down here in a few minutes.
Also a really good
run here,
time to
good
have
run.
a big one. Look at Darren Law.
And he's blocked.
Oh, big block
That
there.
was completely a block. Punt him off.
Dorsey getting a little wound up in the booth. It's like he's back in the cockpit, but Johansson making the defensive move. Darren Law could not get by there into the braking zone. And right now, Darren Law's got his mirrors full of Memo Gidley in the number 19 Air Force Reserve machine.
You can't punt him off. That's the problem.
Yeah, see,
But
you would be in trouble.
I'd have taken a penalty.
You would be in trouble, Dorsey. That was Andy Wallace who got balked there by Matthew Al-Hadif, I'm sorry, as they went through turn 5 at the end. He got balked, and Bert Frizzell got around the outside of him. As you look at the battle there for 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and 5th as they stream through turn 1. It's Matteo Bobby in the 77 car. He is not pitted yet. Then the 66. He has been to pit road, but they have not changed drivers. Jörg Bergmeister still behind the wheel, as is Luis Diaz still behind the wheel in the 01. Max Angelelli in the 10, and Butch Leitzinger in the 5 Boss Snowplow. And GT just as hot as the Daytona prototype class. This is the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Everybody's having fun at Watkins Glen. Oh, side by side going up the S's. Ed makes it pass.
You just said you don't want to do that.
You don't want to do that. The consequences you pay bumping up there are huge. And it's not over with yet.
No, it is not over with. You see the number 14 Autometrics entry there. Lee Keen behind the wheel gets the best of the number 73 Porsche. Jim Taffel behind the wheel right now. Andrew Davis started that car. Also the number 22 BMW running 4th, getting a lot of pressure now from the Porsche right behind him. I believe that's the number 36 Porsche.
Somebody on the rev limiter on the downshifts there. I don't know if it was Chris Gleason or not, but you could really hear him. Oh, and he slides a little bit wide. Here comes the move, and he's blocking again.
It's Spencer Pumpelly trying to get around Chris Gleason.
Chris Gleason went to the defensive line. I'd say block him, but he actually just moved all the way to the inside, but it did cause a bit of a mess.
Yeah, this is just a matter of time. Right now, Pumpelly looking up the inside of Gleason as they come down into turn 7. The heel of the boot.
Look at the torque on the BMW, though. It pulled that hill better than the Porsche did.
And good brakes as well. Gleason running 5th, Pumpelly in 6th, but Lee Keen in the number 14 Porsche is working his way up. Meanwhile, they're going to have to deal with Patrick Long in a Daytona prototype. It's coming up behind them. About to get very busy here in GT.
Spencer wants by right now. I mean, he's just inside, outside. He got a big slide, power slide off the corner. He was trying to get position for this corner, Brian, what he was doing, and just didn't get it. This is the place where you want to be fast. Come out of here, move to the inside early if you can.
Patrick Long in the number 5 Daytona prototype gets by all of them. Pumpelly wanted to work with him and get by as well as we go back and ride on board the number 64. This is your 4th place runner right now, the number 64, Jan Magnussen behind the wheel.
Team car right in front of him. Maybe get a little toe off of him.
As you said, Dorsey, that's the 65, the team car right in front. Andy Lally behind the wheel there. So Magnussen and Lally the quicker of the 2 drivers in that car. But Mark Bunting in the 65 car as well has done a great job this year. You can't take anything away from him. But Andy Lally, the hired gun there. As you look back at the battle for DPs, it's like 5 o'clock traffic on the freeway. Look at this.
That's 10 through the rest. It's everybody
10
on one page.
Through the rest. Wallace, Law, then Negre on board right now with Darren Law, trying to take the battle to Andy Wallace. And back up front, Matteo Bobby has his mirrors full of Jörg Bergmeister. Don't forget that 66 car had to start from the back and now run 2nd.
And like I said, talking to that team, they said, oh, I don't care, we're starting in the back. This is a good racetrack to pass on. We'll get to the front.
77 continues to lead. Chris.
Brian just checked in with those boys. Right now, Matteo Bobby's starting to fade a little bit because he had a little bit of lockup a few laps ago, so he's dealing with a front tire that's got a flat spot on it. Now, they need to leave him out there if they want to make this a one-stop race, so they're just telling Matteo, hey, just keep it underneath you. He's losing a little bit of ground to these guys, but he's also got a lot more laps on those tires. But that Dorn's just real strong here today.
Oh, it is strong, Chris, but right now Jörg Bergmeister pushes him wide as they go through turn 5, and that's going to open the door. You had to get offline and really slow down, Dorsey.
took the 01 around with it, and the 10 got trapped to the inside, and there's not much you can do. He's on weaker tires, like you said.
3 cars have gotten by. He's gone from the lead to 4th. York Bergmeister now takes over the lead at Watkins Glen. Then Luis Diaz runs 2nd. Max the Axe Angelelli 3rd. Daytona Prototype action. Rolex Sports Cars from Watkins Glen.
Welcome back to Rolex Racing at Watkins Glen, New York. The 2 car right now behind the wall. The Citgo boys just pushed Andy Wallace behind the wall. He's reporting that he's having some steering problems with this car. It's been in pit lane for about 2 minutes right now. The team is trying to get it sorted out behind the wall. I think a lot of guys kind of shaking their heads right now, not looking like this is gonna get fixed here. So I don't know if he's gonna get back out on the track, but obviously another disappointing weekend for the Citgo boys.
These cars, of course, set up.
If you can't place the cars where the oversteer comes from, I can see that, but it's very much worse round right, round left than right.
Of course, we're electric power steering you're talking about, so they're having some trouble there. You heard Andy Wallace explaining that it's worth one direction to another. You can't drive without it, quite honestly.
Looking at the lead in DP, Jörg Bergmeister still leads, but there's been a change for 2nd place. Max Angelelli has taken over 2nd from Luis Diaz just a couple of laps ago. While we were at break, we'll take a look at how it happened.
What's going on is Luis is trying to make a pass, and he's kind of forgotten about there's somebody behind me. And he was so concentrated on trying to get a run that the 10 actually got the run on him.
Angelelli almost makes it look easy.
Yeah, he did. Actually, it was pretty easy for him. He got a triple toe, both those cars in front of him, opening a big wall of air.
Well, and of course, once he sees the car there, he can't block. He knows he needs to protect his car, and the 10 needs to be protected as well, Calvin.
Well, let's check in with Wayne Taylor. Max is doing a tremendous job there. He's got up to 2nd. You had to put the binders on him at Phoenix just to get that finish when the 01 had problems. What is the big picture now, Wayne, with such a healthy points lead?
Well, coming out, we still had to be ahead of the 01 car, and that was the plan. And, the car's really good. Max is doing an outstanding job. So if we can stay ahead of it and try and go and win the race now.
How much did he beat you up in the 2 weeks since Phoenix in saying, please, Wayne, let me go race next time?
He's impossible. all the time. But he's doing a great job. But, we still got a long way to go. And I know they still have to have a driver change. It was really strange at the start because we had decided to follow the 01 car in, and we all thought that Scott was going to get out. That's why I jumped out, and so I'm not sure how they're running their strategy, but at the moment we're ahead of them, so that's where we need to be.
Okay, well, everyone will need certainly one more stop here for fuel anyway, and I'm sure they'll get Scott in at that time.
In the meantime, Luis Diaz wants that position back, driving really, really good, Luis Diaz, this weekend, and they split the Pontiac GTOs. I thought we were going to have a big crash while we were listening to the interview with Wayne right there, but they got through. But it's obvious that Luis Diaz wants his position back.
Well, the crew has to be talking to Luis saying, if you want this championship, you must finish in front of the 10 car. Meanwhile, the 21.
Heads up, guys.
That's the leader in GT, Bill Oberlin, off the outside of the uphill toe of the boot. No power into that vehicle, it doesn't look like.
It'll be interesting to see what the problem is. You saw the brake lights on. Remember, we saw a problem with the 16
Okay,
car.
as it stands now, guys, it's the new tires, fuel, and a tear off, and we'll try to push it back.
That was the 21 radio. I don't know what they were talking about. I'm not sure that was the radio. You see Oberlin sitting in the car. You can see his hands moving. He's probably talking on the radio. Remember, we've seen electrical problems with these BMWs before as far as an electronic throttle. So you wonder if that could be an issue right now as he tries to refire it. We saw Justin Marks and Joey Hand both have that problem at Mid-Ohio, and it takes turning off the car and resetting it, turning off the car and resetting it. That gives the lead to Jan Magnussen in the 64 Pontiac GTO-R. See if they can make it 2 wins in a row, and this will bring out the full course yellow. Oberlin stopped there in the toe of the boot.
Right here, as a matter of fact, right up in front. He's going to go a lap down.
See the double yellow being displayed at the start finish. We have just crossed the halfway mark as far as laps go. It'll be interesting. You got to believe that the 77 car would be coming to pit road under this full course caution. They have dropped back as far as 7th. Pace car standing up, waiting to pick up the leaders. He's just at the exit of turn 1. He'll pick up the leaders as they come through turn 1 before they head up.
Here he comes.
Race control saying your leader's gone down the front straightaway, so the Pontiac pace car will roll. And there's a look at the 77. As I said, he's dropped back to 7th. So this is going to be exactly what the doctor ordered for them. They're at the halfway mark, and you would expect them to come in. And all the leaders coming to pit road. You see 66, 10, and 01.
Everything loose. It's got to be a big stop, guys. It's a big stop here. 3, 2, 1, go.
That's the radio on the 66. Here's the 10. Calvin.
Well, that was Mike Johnson talking Jörg Bikemeister in saying, be smooth, be calm, do everything right. Max Pappas has jumped in behind the wheel. That'll be his first in of the day. We can see Scott Pruitt relieving Luis Diaz in the 01. Tracy Krohn said this race will be won or lost in the pits. And the Krohn Racing TRG group look like they got a good start going, but he's pretty tight to pit wall here. Looks like Bergmeister may have made a slight mistake in getting the car pretty tight to the wall. They're waiting on fuel. Everything else looks okay. Meanwhile, the sister car with Nick Janssen, and behind him they're trying to pull the car back. The 10 car is out first. 10 car beats the 66 out, and the 012 got blocked there. Pappas underway.
Chris.
Well, down to the 77, Camp Matteo Bobby bringing the Crown Royal machine and handing it over to Fabrizio Golan. Really good stop by these boys, just waiting on fuel. You know, this is going to be a little bit longer stop because this car's been out on the racetrack since the green flag dropped early on, so it's going to take a while to get all the fuel in this car. Also behind them, the 4-car Butch Leitzinger bringing that car in. Fuel and tires, they're good to go the rest of the way. And also, 77 stalled, Fabrizio Golan stalled right now. The team trying to push him and get him going here. But we're under caution, so he's not going to lose too much time there. And the 8-car also in, Bert Frizzell getting out, handing it over to his younger brother, Brian Frizzell.
They run that 77 out of gas?
Yeah, could have either run it out of gas or it could have possibly vapor locked where you're sitting too long and the heat goes up through the intake manifold and the thing won't run. But I'm thinking that's not the case. These are fuel-injected cars, and I'm thinking it could have been out of gas.
Well, they ran it a long way past the halfway mark. You saw all the activity in pit road, and it looked like the 66 car actually got hung up by the 02. They were a little close to pit wall. Here's why we're under yellow, the number 21 GT BMW up against pit wall, but you got to think that the 02 blocked the 66 a little bit. That made it difficult for them. Well, while we get all of this sorted out and the racetrack gets cleaned up, we'll take this opportunity to take a quick break, but we'll be back to Watkins Glen. Sit back and relax, just like the fans here in upstate New York are doing. This is the championship fight right here.
Ready.
Pruitt must finish this race in front of Wayne Taylor and Max Angelelli. Onto the front straightaway, green flag. You heard the radios crackle, and we're back to racing. Look at Pruitt up the inside.
Well, a little defensive driving there by Max Yax. He doesn't want to get them inside.
And the 66 going to go around the outside of Pruitt. Pruitt cannot afford to have an incident. They get the
Oh, and they bump good. The Ford, the worst of that, loses the front end. And he might have suspension damage, trying to keep it under control and out of the way of these guys as he goes up the S's.
That was Pappas on his old teammate Pruitt. It didn't work. Pappas got up on the curb, and when he brought the car back in a big crash.
And it's going to take out a lot of cars. This is in the S's. Big crash. 4, 5, 6 cars involved here easily. And the racetrack is blocked. Nowhere for these other cars.
And another car just runs into 36, just hit
Both
the
bounces off the
06.
walls and killed both of them.
Both of your Pontiac GTO-Rs just came through there. There's the 06.
It's a Dyson entry.
Harrison Bricks behind the wheel there. And the 77 car as well.
It's got a bunch of cars involved up here. We don't see them all right now, but
One is who you got caught up with the pack.
06 to 77 to
That's the
58 to
58.
38.
Guys, I ran over some debris, though, hopefully.
There's the point leader. We
Hopefully
talked
I'm
about
okay.
Craig Stanton. Could he go through unscathed? No.
There's the answer. His string of top 6 finishes is done. Stanton, significant damage. You saw the radiator leaking badly. Darren Law sitting in his 58 Brumos machine, shaking his head.
He got a little stiff neck right now. That's a good hit he had. You're over 120 miles an hour. Watch, this is how it started off. You know, it's just 66 and the and bumps into the 4. That sends the hood flying. Now everybody's stacking up.
As they head up through the S's.
Now see, the 4 is trying to slow up and get out of the way. And
he's out of the way.
keep watching here.
I see debris up in front.
Yeah,
the accident's already happened.
Oh, and that's at 130, 40 miles an hour by there. You're up into 5th gear.
It happens in front of the 4. There.
Boy, oh boy. I don't know what happened.
58.
Oh, look at that. Great job by the 7. Escapes. Got both Brumo's cars. The 59's involved as well.
Can't really see. You see the 58 car. You see a lot of
Look here now.
fluid
Look back
explode.
here. All this wrecking's still going on. Those are all the GT cars.
And
just not
right
coming
there,
out.
look at the BMW, the blue and white BMW. That was the number 16. On board with Gene Siegel.
And it's all happening. Now, what would you do?
Go right.
Full course yellow.
Hang
Full
on,
course
Gene.
yellow. Save some fuel, buddy. It's going to be a big one.
Watch Darren Law. We know he's in this quite heavily.
He gets hit.
Oh man, that was a big one.
That was a big hit, and he gets hit again.
Ping pong ball time.
But Darren Law got a big hit from the back. Look at the right rear on the 66 car.
Major damage. One exhaust
He'll
pipe
make it to
missing.
pit road. Calvin is there.
Well, this damage obviously came when he put the little move on Butch Leitzinger. They got some damage to the right rear corner, took some body work off and got into the right rear tire. So the team is going to go to work here, but the key is, did it get into any suspension components? They can change the wheel quickly. They can probably tear some of this body work off.
Rip that exhaust off. Rip that exhaust off.
It's Mike Johnson talking to the crew there. The tailpipe is loose, the muffler part, they've got to tear it off.
Both of them.
Checking the coolers, make sure they don't have any fluid leaks. It's going to burn the motor down. We'll take a good close look here. The key is to keep him on the lead lap, so try and get him back out, trundle around for another lap while they clear the mess up and gradually do the repairs here. They do not want to lose a lap here. Let's go down to Chris.
Cal down with the number 4 car. Butch Leitzinger bringing it to a stop here in pit lane. Was just looking like they were going to have to put a nose on this car, but significant damage to the left front suspension here. It looks like these guys are saying their day is done. I'm going to try and stick my head in here and just try and talk with Butch real quick. Butch, what happened out there?
The TRG car, I forget which number, got a horrible run off the turn. I went on the inside, and he didn't want me there. So he crashed into me and took off the nose and the suspension, I guess. And at that point, I think he had a lot of damage too. And I think that when he got to the top of the hill, he caused a lot more crashes. But I got to the top of the hill. Ow!
Oh, they're pushing us back here, guys.
Well, that might have explained the big wreck on top of the hill. Butch had the best view. He was going slowly. Apparently, he says the 66, which had rear suspension damage, started that big melee. Calvin?
Well, they've got the right rear wheel back on the 66 car. There was some kind of oil fluid leak coming from some of the hoses there just in front of that front rear suspension. So they're going to try send a max off, obviously, do a lap, keep on that lead lap, and then right now that tire is rubbing bad, or that's some kind of oil smoke as he leaves pit lane,
That's
guys.
oil smoke, Calvin. You're absolutely right. He's got an oil cooler or something. He's got pieces dangling off the
Straight
right.
back in, Max. Bring it straight back in. You got a lot of oil going out. There's a lot of debris there. You're going to go into a lot of debris right now.
And he's
Nice and slow back in.
gonna oil up the racetrack real good by everybody too, as if this wasn't enough up here.
A huge incident there, and the S is still trying to figure out what was going on. When we rode on board with Darren Law, you could tell he got hit from behind, forced into the guardrail. But while we get this sorted out, we'll take the opportunity to take another quick break from Watkins Glen and Rolex Sports Car Series action.
Another thing right now, Brian, that's going to come into play is that the sun is getting in these guys' eyes. It's setting right now, and there's a couple places on this racetrack you're headed into your brake zone and you're looking right into the sun.
If you can make the man in front of you look at just the wrong time in his mirror and then look back into the sun, easy to lose a spot. Pruitt, good run out of the toe of the boot, but then Angelelli seems to hold station as they go up the hill and over to turn 7.
The Toyota guys have been working pretty good too, I should say. They've been working on their engine program. They didn't seem to think that they had as much torque as that Pontiac. They've made some new pieces. One of them a lighter crankshaft. They've finally been whittling away on that thing. We were wondering if longevity would be a problem with their new light crankshaft that they have in this weekend. It certainly looks like it picked up the speed and surely hasn't had a problem.
And the one thing that the boys at Lexus have done is not give up on the development of that Lexus power plant. That last time by, Pruitt was actually a couple of tenths faster than Angelelli. Will check the line this time by. Angelelli 4/100ths of a second quicker, so these cars almost dead even. It just goes back and forth from lap to lap. And Dorsey, I think it's exactly what you said. Pruitt just trying to figure out, where do I need to be coming off of one? If I'm close, is that better? If I'm back a little bit, is that better? What do I need to get that toe, to get this move made down into the braking zone?
It's so frustrating as a driver to have to slow up to become faster, and that's what Scott's analyzing right now. Where do I have to back off and get a run so that I can be really faster than Max is at a place that I'm able to make that opportunity stick?
Well, and this is what Max Angelelli wants. You heard him after Phoenix say, this was not a fun race today. I just drove around. I didn't have to drive hard. He has to drive hard now. He's got one of the best in the business right behind him. And this is for the Daytona Prototype Championship. So the idea of pulling over and letting him go, even though they have 36 points in hand, that's one more point than a race win is worth. The idea that Max Angelelli will let him go, no way.
Well, and like you said, Max is in there grinning right now because he doesn't have Bill Riley saying, don't race. He's got Bill Riley saying, the 01's going to try to pass you, get in front of you, don't let it happen.
Pruitt doing all he can, even dropping the wheels off of the edge of the racetrack right now. Calvin.
Wayne Taylor, as you can imagine, is very nervous right now, Brian. And Wayne, did you ever any thoughts about having Max let Scott go by? I mean, one bobble, or if Scott gets the inside, turn you around, this championship could be wide open again.
Yeah, it could be. That's obviously what they're trying to do, and Max's job is to keep him behind. I mean, it's pretty exciting. I think we're going to be okay. I hope.
Would this decision be different if you still had the 19-point lead that you had at Phoenix, and now it's 36, different ball game?
No, we always have to be ahead of the 01 car, and if we can beat the 01 car and then go and win the race, then that's what we have to do.
Well, they're on track for that right now, Brian. A few minutes left.
It's coming down to a classic Rolex Sports Car Series Daytona prototype battle. Max Angelelli and Scott Pruitt, two of the best in the business, going at it tooth and nail. And you look at the lap times the last time by, just a couple of tenths quicker for Angelelli, but Pruitt now in the draft, closing that gap.
Trouble. Something just came off one of those cars, or they ran over debris. I don't know what that was. Headlight cover in front.
Bodywork damage on the 10 car, whether he hit something or he had a crack from earlier on and it just began to pack air. I don't know, but there is definitely damage to the right front of the 10 car.
And it's going to cause understeer on high-speed corners. It's going to cause the car to want to push out. I don't know that Max Angelelli knows that even happened.
Well, he had to have felt something. He would have felt the explosion or the bump.
Getting a report, he ran over a woodchuck, ran out in the middle of the road.
Well, one of the other problems is, Dorsey, at 170 miles an hour down this back straightaway, it's going to pack 170 mile an hour breeze into that hole there on that bodywork. It could rip the whole front section off.
We've seen those noses fly a million times before. You're absolutely right. And if he loses the whole front end, he loses a whole lot of downforce.
Right now, the splitter still seems to be intact, but a lot of damage there to the right front, just underneath the headlight. But it doesn't seem to be slowing him down right now. We'll look at the difference in the lap time as he comes by. But meanwhile, the 99 car, Alex Gurney, beginning to slow.
Yeah, trouble on the 99.
Now side by side with Nick Janssen.
Wonder if he missed.
Well, he was slowing, but
gear or something maybe.
At the line that time by Angelelli, only 7/100 slower.
Watch this, Brian.
I'm not sure I want to.
No, it's still going to be a little rodent come out here at the wrong time.
The car seems to be okay, 46.9 that last time by, but you got to think it's going to create some aerodynamic drag, and you got to believe that, once again, Dorsey, it's packing 160 plus, 170 mile an hour wind through that opening. How much downforce is it going to take away?
If it loses the whole front end, a significant amount. I mean, you're going to get some lift off that one corner for sure.
Well, we saw a problem with the 99. We don't know what it is. Chris, fill us in.
Brian just checked in with these boys, and they thought that they were good on fuel. Well, that's not the case. Alex Gurney just ran out of fuel. He did flip it over to the reserve tank, so he's going to do one more lap before he comes in to top it off.
That explains this.
Why not just come straight to pit road?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, that explains they were cutting it too close. Little stumble there.
Who else is cutting it close?
Yeah, there's a good question.
Well, we've had that extended yellow, and everybody should be good to go. So it could be just different fuel strategies. We talked about that early on. These two cars are reportedly good to go, but you certainly know they're not conserving fuel right now, Dorsey.
2 more laps to go, and can that hood stay on? That's the big question right now. I don't know that Max knows. I'm sure they've told him on the radio, you've got a hole in the right front headlight cover. They got one more time.
3.4 miles around Watkins Glen, 11 corners to the checkered flag for Max Angelelli. It will not be easy. Scott Pruitt all over the back of him. We talk about downforce. It not only adds through the corner, Dorsey, it affects your braking as well.
It affects everything. You're right, Brian. And this is a good shot for Scott right here. He's going to have to get back, get a good run going. Try to catch him right here at the top of the hill and move to the inside.
He's really got 3 spots, doesn't he? The braking for the inner loop, the braking for the toe of the boot.
Here he's looking.
That's not going to work.
Another woodchuck maybe.
The 2 best braking zones after this, the toe of the boot and the heel of the boot. Turns 7 and 8 on the racetrack. They'll go through turns 5 right now. Sweeping downhill right-hander into turn 6, what we call the laces of the boot. Downhill left-hand corner, and out of this, if Pruitt can get a run, he's got a good braking zone into the hairpin at the end.
2 of the best in the business, giving it their all. This is the spot you're talking about. Not close enough, Brian.
Daytona Prototype Championship on the line. Only 2 races left after today. Pruitt needs this win. He needs to gain points on Max Angelelli and Wayne Taylor. Not close enough in the braking zone here.
Nope. And that limits his possibilities to 2.
But this is how smart Scott Pruitt is. He will not stick it in there when it's not going to work. He will not make the mistake of damaging that car. Second place will still give him valuable points.
And a lap car right in front of him could be a determining factor. They're going to go one more time into 2 more corners. And,
they're going to catch him in turn 11.
They're going to split it.
David Murray in the injured number 80 Porsche. Pruitt looks the inside. No way.
Murray moves over. Good job.
Victory goes again to the 10 car. Max Angelelli, Wayne Taylor take the checkered flag. Victory for the SunTrust team, the 5th of the season, and they will extend their points lead in the Daytona Prototype Championship over Scott Pruitt and Luis Diaz.
They blew out the... Oh, look at this GT battle between the teammates. Both Pontiac GTORs going for a 1-2.
The 65, Andy Lally in front of Jan Magnussen on board the 64 right now. 65 is the only TRG car that has not won this year in Pontiac form. It won earlier in the season when they still ran the Porsches, but it has not won in Pontiac form. Andy Lally needs this victory. He needs to gain ground on Craig Stanton in the championship. Stanton finishing well back in the order. A victory for Andy Lally and Mark Bunting will move them to probably within 5 or 6 points in the GT Championship. We'll have to look at the stats and wait and see if he can hold on and keep Jan Magnussen behind him. I've got to believe he can. I believe Jan Magnussen is there to hold up.
Yeah, Magnussen's the bumper. He's just going to sit there and let the points go the way they will. Spencer's got no chance whatsoever getting by that, I guarantee you.
Yeah, getting past Jan Magnussen is not going to happen. He will protect his teammate Andy Lally and help them move up in the GT Championship in the Rolex Sports Car Series. 1 corner left, and the boys at TRG will take victory again. Back-to-back victories for TRG and the Pontiac GTOR, this time to Andy Lally and Mark Bunting.
Well, I'm here with the 10-car, Wayne Taylor, Max Angelelli, 2nd win here at the Glen. And Max, you said you wanted a race after Phoenix. You didn't like it there. You got one today, bud.
Yeah, I prefer this way. I'm really happy. And this is the way that I want to race all the time. So I hope I can do the next 2 races as well.
They call you Max the Axe. Did you see the woodchuck that you carved up there on the racetrack?
Unfortunately, yes. I was saying, no, boom. No, I really don't like this.
Congratulations, superb run today. Well done.
Thank you.
Well, Andy Lally gets his first win in the Pontiac GTOR, and really a great race for you. Not only a win, but problems with Joey Hand, Craig Stanton, and David Murray, so that puts you back into this championship.
Yeah, it does. You know, it's a great deal for Mark and I. This Pontiac GTO was running great. I got to say thanks to the team, my crew, TRG, all my guys. They did a super job today. My teammate had my back. He's in my mirrors all day. We were missing a right rear mirror, so it was a little difficult with traffic. And I saw Pompelli coming, and I know he's a rocket in that Porsche, and those things are quick. So, but our GTO held on, man. This thing's awesome.
Another strong finish in GT for Pontiac.
Contact out on the racetrack today. It was a wild one. Make sure you join us the next time live Sunday, October 9th from Virginia International Raceway. For Dorsey Schrader, Calvin Fish, Chris Neville, I'm Brian Till.